oh yeah. Now, how did any of that have to do with bartending?
Because
you said ADD.
Yeah, I did say ADD. I was about to say, speaking of Hunger Games, which being behind the bar sometimes can be.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
world.
What's a moment that sticks out to you? Mine isn't even that fascinating. It's just one that I always remember.
Okay, go.
Mine is, I remember this European family came in and they asked for red wine with Coke in it. And I was just like, what? And they were like, yeah, we want red wine with a splash of Coke. And I was like, I don't think I'm understanding you right. And they were just like, try it. And I tried it and it tasted like vanilla Coke. And I just ended up having a nice time, like talking to this family from Europe.
Where were you bartending? And about what year was this?
I was at Catch 54 in Fenwick Island, the original one before it burnt down. So it burnt down like 2010 or 11, probably 2009, 2008. But I just like, the reason I remember it is because it was such a drastic, culturally different thing, as in I was under the premise or the preface that I had eaten and drank, the things that I could come up, like the concoctions that I could have come up with, especially bartending. Never in my wildest dreams would I have mixed Coca-Cola or cola and red wine. And it's what they do in Europe for cheaper red wines on how to like use them, I guess. And it tasted good. So I was just like, wow, the world must be a lot bigger than I think it is.
Okay, so that's your favorite?
No. That is a moment that
out in
that like I won't forget. No, it's not, dude. I've like rescued a whole building like burning down with people inside at that same restaurant. That's a story for another day.
I've heard this story.
Well, it's not for today.
Okay,
but no, that's just a memory that I have from behind the bar
for today. Craig, you get a lot of comments about people being like, "Can we hear Craig's story about him rescuing a burning building?" And then it's going to be like, it's Craig's like, graphic novel that he's working on that he came up with, Euro Craig. No. I actually do remember you saying that. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and tell mine, but let me just say that I do want Craig to tell this story because I feel like it's kind of a crazy story. And Craig is literally YouTubing it right now. Catch 54 YouTube.
Catch 54 fire.
August 2nd, 2011.
I ran back into with my buddy to get some people out. And then right after that, this is when it explodes and it all like crashes down. We had to turn off these gas pumps right here because it's a fuel dock for boats. So we had to run back in, close all the gas lines off in the kitchen. And then me and Chummer were sitting in this parking lot, which is like the fire company took an hour to get I don't want to.
You were kind of just watching it burn like, Carmi was at one
and
point?
then it just fell to the ground.
Damn. And then that was the end of Catch 54, huh?
Yeah. And then they had to rebuild it.
Wow.
But, that was my last night of work. And I always joked about like,
how old were you
burning it down?
I don't remember hearing the
2011, August 2nd, 2011. I was about to go to law school. I was leaving for law school. So it was my last night of work ever.
23 or 24, 23.
Yeah. So it was my last night of work ever. And I was always like, and so people didn't believe me. Like I remember there was like white smoke started to come out of the grates upstairs. So the upstairs in the restaurant was all enclosed in glass. It was air conditioned. Downstairs was open air, like tiki bar, but there was tables to eat at. And everyone knew it was my last night. So I ran downstairs and I was like, hey girls, like my friend Molly and Shelley were working. I was like, hey girls, the building might be on fire. Like, we're not really sure what's going on. Just like stay alert. And they were like, shut the fuck up, Craig. You're hammered. And I was like, no, I'm not like kidding. And so
were you hammered?
Not at this point. No, fortunately, no, it was just my,
could you drink at the bar
No.
No. Okay.
We did beer shooters
because I've worked at bars where we can drink, including one here in Charleston. And some nights I'd be like, whoa, I took too many shots.
Yeah.
Some
I mean, we did. And like, especially when I realized the security cameras in the bar were fake. And that's something you learn when you get a little older and you start spending time in the office and you're like, wait, we don't have fucking cameras. You're so easily like swayed and scared as a little, I was like a rule follower.
Yeah.
So there's white smoke coming out of the grates and the floor. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like 6 o'clock, middle of dinner service. We had like probably 350 to 400 covers in the building at the time, like people. So me and Chummer call the fire department. We're like, hey guys.
That's a lot of people, by the way.
Yeah. We're like, is there any way you guys can come down, like check on the restaurant? And they're like, if we come, we're coming in like sirens blazing. And we're like, well, we can't do that. Like we had a boss that would have fucking murdered us if we had to evacuate the restaurant, even if it was on fire. Like we weren't ready to make that call.
They're like, keep on serving.
Yeah. Get the scallops to table 23 now. Fire
everything.
So we the smoke starts to pick up and I'm like, this isn't right. You know, like my dad's company does like smoke damages, fires. Like it just wasn't right. So all of a sudden things go from like sketchy to bad real quick and the smoke turns black and I just make the call and I'm like, everyone get the fuck out of the restaurant. So I'm upstairs. I'm like, girls, clear the restaurant. I'm staying like everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. And I was like, guys, the building's on fucking fire. You need to get out of here now. So like people are like, can we take our food with us? And you're just like, dude, just get out of the fucking building. So then I get downstairs and I'm like, Molly, the fucking restaurant's on like fire. Get everyone out. And they're like, shut the fuck up, Craig. Like, shut up. Because they couldn't see the smoke because they were downstairs and outside.
Didn't you just tell this?
No, this is on the bottom floor.
Oh,
okay. No one believed me.
Yeah. Everyone thought that
anyway,
was strong.
I like stood up on a chair. I had to yell. I really feel like this is a story for a different time, but
you are balls deep.
People
in the story,
left their families. Like we had to go, like some older people, we had to like help out of there. And we're like, is no one taking this seriously? And then when I went back upstairs to see how the evacuation was going upstairs, the vents blew out of the floor and flames came out and all hysteria broke loose. So fortunately, about half the building had gotten out before everyone started to scream and panic. Like my hostess started to bawl her eyes out and fall to the floor because I guess she was caught in a fire as a kid. And like her PTSD kicked in. Like people, you saw the people that were like running, like handling it, not handling. One thing, we had cut my friend Connor from bartending that day because it was a little slower early on. And he was like, all right, I'll leave you my iPod, just please protect it. Next day, iPod is melted to the floor. I grabbed everything. Kind of rambling now. So flames are coming out of the vents now. We're in the kitchen and we like start to get the kitchen staff out of there. No one knows what to do. So we're screaming at everyone to leave. Flames are like visibly coming out of the floor now. And we realize that the gas lines are still on inside. So me and Chummer had to run back inside, turn the gas lines off. We go upstairs to try to get the cash drawers. He starts to cough. The stairs start to like fall away. And I realized that we had just fucked up. I was like, we just got way in over our head. Like in the split second, I was like, we are in a building we were surrounded in flames with like no way out. So we ended up jumping like down to the like lower platform and just calling it a day. But we got the gas turned off. We got like, there was an old lady in the bathroom downstairs that we got out that her family had just left. And then we sat in the parking lot and watched it burn down. It's kind of a summary of the story. There's no more there, but
that is shocking. And I wish, what you just described could be made into a movie.
Then we
Craig's
go
and then I was on the third floor and I leapt just as the stairs like evaporated underneath me. And then I caught the banister on the other side and pulled myself up while I had the old woman who was in the bathroom in my other hand. And
I did actually
to safety
slide across the line, like under the line, like on top of the service table. I slid from this side over to the kitchen side to turn something off. But then we went to have cheesesteaks at Philly's Finest as we watched the remnants, and they were all just like, so your guys' restaurant burned down tonight. And we were like, yeah.
And the question is, did they feel bad for you and give you cheesesteaks on the house?
We did. We got cheesesteaks on the house. And then the next day, the owner couldn't bear to like go inside. Like he was pretty upset. I mean, Matt was awesome. So he let me and Connor and Trip go in. I've got some crazy videos. Actually, I'll send you some photos, Nick. My hair was so long back then. Me and two other like surf bros, all the liquor, like it's under the cabinet. Like this didn't get damaged. And he was like, no, screw you alcoholics. You can't have it. And then when we were leaving, he goes, all right, get a trash bag and fill it up. And so,
and like
my first year in law school, like I had a full bar. Yeah.
Of, your life. Just like how
many times do you get full reign to go take anything you want out of a bar?
Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God, jackpot, guys. I just got every flavor of Stoli vodka.
I had like Johnny Walkers and stuff. And so Corey and I like,
that's big.
We had this like bar my first year of law school with I ended up driving it all down. But story, I would say for another day, but I guess I just told it.
Wow. Okay. Well,
How did it
I'm
start?
not going to tell my story.
Very fair question, Nick. So the stove was so hot against the wall that it actually lit the insulation behind the stove on fire. And so that small fire made its way up the wall into like the big A-frame roof at the top. And so the roof was on fire, like the attic was on fire for a while. And that's why we saw it come through like the air conditioning system. And then it kind of, it happened pretty fast. But I thought you were going to tell your naked story from New Zealand, Austen.
Well, I was going to, but then you just told your hero story from what's it called?
Catch 54.
Catch 54. And I said that we leave it at that, and then I'll leave my naked New Zealand.
Well, no, if I had to tell my story, you have to tell your story.
Well, yours is.
I'm sure you did great things as a bartender too, but this is a cool story. Let's follow up the intense story.
I didn't save anyone's life. But my first bartending gig was in New Zealand. And
wait, your first?
Yeah, first.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you got the job because you were a bartender.
No. So when I went, so there was an open call, like an open casting call. I don't know what to call it.
I'm gonna fill some Pinot Noir.
There was an open job
open house.
Sure. And it was like, come one, come all to come and apply for the job, Craig. And so when I went in, they knew that I lied. I mean, I lied and said that I had bartended a little bit in Vail at the Ritz, but like not really. I was like, popping beers and like, but I obviously just told them that I was.
Right.
Because it is a hostile bar, for God's sakes.
You're probably like, I know I will be a good bartender here,
yes,
but I gotta get the job.
Right. And so they gave us this like application to fill out, and I had all these questions, and I just remember like thinking to myself, I was like, these managers. I was like, imagine if it was like you and me up there, Craig, but not like now, but at like 28 or something, and like. We are responsible for actually hiring people. And you and I would look at these, freaking applications and be like, did this guy really just write out like an essay of like why he's good at pouring like a vodka soda? Like, give me a break.
That's true. They were the people hiring us back then were our age
they
now.
Didn't give a shit, They were like, did this guy really just tell me that, he has like a mixology degree?
I was that guy.
When I could just want him to pour like a freaking, Red Bull vodka. Like, I don't care. So then that's what I thought. So on the whole front page of my application, I wrote, I'm awesome. And that was the whole front page. And so the women, the bosses and, the GM and the manager and whatnot were women. And so when I went up there, they like, laughed. And then they were like, look, we want to hire you. And like, I talked to them for 30 seconds and I was just like, I would love for you to hire me. And they're like, but we have the bartenders already filled out. So what if we bring you on as like security? And I was like, guys, I'm like a 23-year-old or 23-year-old, security. And then they're like, it'll just be for like a week or so. And then it literally was for like 1 week. And then I transitioned in to bartending. But like, that was how they gave me the in. They were like, we want to hire you, but like, we've already hired all the bartenders, but like, we have to hire you. And I was like, yes, you have to hire me. So anyways, so every Friday, because New Zealand is really, really big on action sports, right? So bungee jumping was what they say invented.
Action sport?
Sure. And like, jumping out of planes and like.
Would you consider
like
bungee
that.
Jumping a sport?
No, I don't think. Okay, so sport might have been the wrong word. Like a thrill-seeking
it might not
adventure.
Be the wrong word. I'm just saying, like,
right. So like, paragliding and jumping out of a plane and bungee jumping.
Yeah, all the things
apparently,
I won't do.
Apparently, the first person to jump off of the Eiffel Tower was a New Zealander. His name is AJ Hackett, and AJ Hackett has like bungee things all over New Zealand, and so the people who run the bungee course used to come into the bar and do this thing, right? Because bus loads of travelers would come through each week. And every other Friday, they would come in. What the hell is that?
Sorry. First person to jump off the Eiffel Tower.
Oh,
His
what?
parachute failed to deploy
Oh,
and
no.
he died.
Okay. First person to bungee jump off the Eiffel Tower.
Ron's right.
God. 1878. No.
Oh,
no.
God.
1912.
So, okay.
So these guys would come in, and what they would do is it was called horizontal bungee. And horizontal bungee was that they would attach you to one side of the bar, and then you had to run up to the actual bar, grab a beer on it, come back, right? So say that I was in the actual bungee, I would run up and grab it. I'd come back, I'd hand the beer to Craig, and Craig would pound it as fast as he could and put the cup on top of his head to show that it was empty. And the fastest team's time won. Now, you got seconds shaved off your time, the less clothing that you wore. So, it was encouraged to get down like your boxers or like your bra and underwear or something. And like some girls, of course, would take off, their tops and, run up there. And so I would never do that, right? Because they would always be like, okay, and now to demonstrate, we're going to use, Austen and Steph. And Steph was my roommate, or, one of my 3 roommates. And we would not get down to our bra and our underwear because we were like, okay, well, we're just going to show you how to do it. So then we do it. And then we would get free bungee, right? Because we gave them like a free tab. So I went bungee jumping a few times.
Really?
But yeah, but then my very last night.
It's just not something I care to do.
Well, I was terrified. And honestly, there's a video of it like that they gave me, and we should watch it one day, Craig, because you will laugh. I don't think I had a haircut for like 3 straight months while I was living there. So my hair was just like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. So my very last night there was the drunkest night I've ever been in my entire life. And they had me do it. And I got butt naked to do the horizontal bungee. And
do you remember it?
Yes. Only in the sense where the bungee guys wouldn't let me get to the bar. Right. So like they kept like on pulling back into my rope, and I'm like struggling, like, naked to get to the bar. I'm like 24 years old at this point. And it was just a big, fun, wild night where I woke up, the next day. I didn't have my cell phone, which I didn't care about because I bought it there and got, minutes there. And I didn't have my wallet or my, passport. And that was a big deal because I was leaving the country that day.
You have your passport?
Yeah. I left it at the bar, and thank God that I got it when it, finally got it at like 3:00 in the afternoon. I was leaving at 4. It was a riot. And that was, God, what an evening.